I want to talk about, your beginnings. And I know you were a retired cop. Was that also a passion when you were growing up? How did you?
Hell no, not at all.
How did that
not
came
all.
about? That's interesting.
Well, I think the music industry, as it began to change, I became a little burned out. We spent a lot of time on the road. We got signed at South by Southwest in the early 90s, back when it was still a budding program, and couldn't get along with our singer enough to keep it together long enough to see that thing through to fruition. Finding yourself touring and trying to fill up clubs in the region. You're in Arkansas, you're in Oklahoma, you're in Arizona, you're in Texas, or whatever. You're trying to fill these room for these cokehead club owners at the time. It was a very frustrating experience. It was fun, and then as I got older, it became more frustrating. It was kind of a wheel spin, and I thought, this is not the musical dream that I once had.
Wants to become a job, right?
Well, yeah, it became a little tedious, and it wasn't really a financial thing. I've always planned on being a starving artist. I didn't care what I made. That's what I wanted to do. And I kind of still look at that. I'm fortunate to have some money behind me now, but it's only happenstance that I picked something to make me money, because I never cared if I made money. I wanted to survive being a musician. And I had, at the time, I had 70, 80 private students that kept me alive too. So touring wasn't, touring was kind of a wash. Mm-hmm. But then I had a child in 1995, and that changed my perspective on everything. It just made me rethink everything in my life. And like I said, since fourth grade, the only thing I was supposed to do is play for KISS on a big stage somewhere, or play for whoever. And that just was my trajectory. And having a kid just takes your mind and changes every priority you've ever had.
Yeah, perspective.
So, that was part of it. And then I had a bunch of people that used to come out and listen to one of my bands were a bunch of cops. And so when I started feeling that burnout and reevaluating what I wanted to do, I had conversations with them, and they were like, "Man, you should come be a cop or whatever." I was like, "The craziest thing.
Man, you're a great musician. You should be a cop."
Yeah, and it's almost the greatest advantage I had was that I had literally thought of nothing else until that point in my life. So when I said, "What else could I do?" I didn't have any box to work within. I just could think of anything in the world, because I'd never considered anything else. And when they brought up cop work, I'd spent many years playing with multicultural bands where I was the only white guy, and I'm learning about these other cultures, and it was a fantastic experience, and it just clicked, man. I thought, man, I would be the greatest undercover ever, because I have friends that are dope heads, musicians, artists, prep guys, business people, whatever. I just feel like I can assimilate into different environments in a genuine way. And so that's what I decided to do. So when I joined the PD, I was the guy that probably had no business doing. I cut 8 inches of hair off, and so my license would look better. And went up and got in on the first try.
What was it, Fort Worth?
Yeah, Fort Worth, yeah.
To Fort Worth. And how old are you when you started the career?
27 or 8. So the end of my 28 years old, something like that.
That's very cool, man. I mean, definitely from a stability standpoint, right? For musician and like a career, because being a law enforcement is a career path, right? It's not just a gig or a job. Like you had to you go to academy first, and then you start growing.
Yeah, you got 6-7 months in an academy that's 40-hour weeks, but it was great for me because I was the guy that had no bad habits. And everything they taught me, I learned, and I was, one of the top shots, one of the top drivers, one of the whatever, just because I had no bad habits, came out of the music world, for heaven's sake. So I adored it, actually, getting out into it. It was a very new experience, but I felt like I could really impact positively the neighborhoods that I served. I felt like I had things in common with even the communities of color, because I'd had so much other experience. Even though I'm a white, stiff nerd, I had great experience with people in that culture before. Right. And so I had a respect for them, and I think they sensed that about me. So, I tried to really just focus on the fact that we're making a positive difference. And back in that day, I'll be honest, it's probably not politically correct, but everyone used to say, "I want to be a cop, go chase bad guys and put them in jail." I mean, hell, that's fun too. So I know that's not supposed to be the reason you do it, but the key is they're bad guys. You're looking for bad guys. You're not looking for any guy to put them in jail. So yes, the first time, my first day on the job with my training officer, a dude stands up and says,
You already got action.
I'm not going to jail. And so I'm like telling my training officer, will you please hold my glasses? They're prescription, I'm fixing to get into a ruckus, but for me, I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I never once took it personal. It was just a fun experience to, get in fistcuffs, get the guy under control, put on handcuffs. I'm like, man, this is going to be awesome.
Waking up to success. Now we getting it started. This is the real grind. Everything you've been wanting, building an empire, no question. Talking about real estate, investing, making the millions, no stopping. While we sip on gourmet coffee. The real